Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight here on YouTube. I'm Darcy Furness, the nutritionist at the South Surrey location. I'm happy to say that we're now resuming our nutrition consults with COVID protocols in place. If you'd like to take advantage of this free service, reach out to your local Choices Market and get in touch with the nutritionist there, and she can let you know what services she's able to offer. And a great way to stay in touch and to stay abreast of all things healthy, check our website out at www.choicesmarkets.com. And you can sign up for our email to receive our flyers and our newsletters right in the privacy of your own home. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. A couple of housekeeping details tonight. At the end of the seminar around 8:30, you're going to be sent a link with a survey, and we're going to ask for your address, and we're going to be sending you one of these nutrition coupons, which is a coupon worth $10 off a $50 purchase. So you can enjoy that, and you'll receive that in the next several weeks. Tonight, I'm delighted to welcome back Leila Stuart. Leila is the owner of Centerpoint Yoga Therapy Studio in White Rock, which was the first of its kind in Canada, and she's been teaching yoga for over 40 years. Tonight, Leila will explain to us how breath is our superpower and how we can learn to use our breath to calm our minds, increase energy, enhance digestion, just basically improve our lives. So please join me in welcoming Leila Stuart.
Thank you, Darcy, and thank you, Choices, for this opportunity to spread the good word about the breath. Okay, so I would actually like to start out with a practice, because that's the best way for you to understand how breath can be your superpower if you experience it right up front. So if you're in a chair or on the floor, please find the most comfortable position for yourself where you can sit easily without any stress. You might need something behind your back. You might need to find your sitting bones so that you're level and your spine can be upright. So just fuss around a little bit until you find that place. And then if it feels okay for you, I would invite you to close your eyes. And if that's not okay for you right now, then just lower your gaze, and that will cut out the outside world for you. So take a few moments now just to simply notice your breath. Noticing whatever there is to notice about your breath right now in this moment. How do you know that you're breathing? What are the signs that tell you that you are breathing right now? Maybe you can feel your breath in different parts of your body. What parts of your body can you feel moving with your breath? Maybe you can feel the air going into your nose or out of your nose as you breathe. Maybe you can be aware in this time of parts of you that move with your breath that maybe you're not so aware of at other times. And maybe you can feel your breath in your armpits or in your pelvic floor. Or maybe your head slightly bobs as you inhale and exhale. Maybe you can hear your breath. How do you know you are breathing? And if we go a little bit deeper into the breath, what's the difference between the feeling on the inhalation and the feeling on the exhalation? If you feel your breath at your nostrils, how does that feeling differ when you breathe in and when you breathe out? So how do you know you're breathing in? And how do you know you're breathing out? What's the feeling of those actions? Noticing if your inhalation is longer or your exhalation. Noticing if there's a pause at the end of the exhalation or at the top of the inhalation. How deep does your breath go in your torso? Is it more up in the chest, or can you feel it down in your belly? And how does that differ as you inhale and as you exhale? What are the feelings there that tell you that you're inhaling and that you're exhaling? So in this introductory practice, I'd like you to experience how you can use your breath to calm yourself down and how you can use your breath to activate yourself, to energize yourself, as two examples of what breath can do for you. So you might already feel a little calmer just because you've attended to your breath. You've become present with your breath. So let's take that one step further and we'll add in a visualization and an affirmation. So this is a breath meditation that was developed by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk who has taught hundreds of thousands of people around the world to live a calmer life. So in your mind, as you inhale, say to yourself, as I breathe in, I know I am breathing in. As I breathe out, I know I am breathing out. Or if that's too many words for your breath, you can simply say, I am breathing in, I am breathing out. As you inhale, I am breathing in. As you exhale, I am breathing out. And the second part of this is, as you breathe in, you visualize in front of you a flower, whatever flower you want. And you say, as I breathe in, I see myself as a flower. And then as you breathe out, you say, I feel fresh. As I breathe out, I feel fresh. And you feel yourself in that energy of the flower. So as I breathe in, I see myself as a flower, and make your flower. As I breathe out, I feel fresh, just like that flower. And do that maybe 3 times. And then the third part of this breath meditation is to say, as I breathe in, I see myself as a mountain, and visualize a mountain you know, or a mountain you make up in your mind. And then as you breathe out, you say, as I breathe out, I feel strong like that mountain. As I breathe in, I see myself as mountain. Feel yourself as mountain. As I breathe out, I feel strong. Feel that mountain energy. So do that a couple more times. And when you finish, just sit and tune into your energy. What did that breath practice do? What are the effects of it on your mind? Maybe your breath has changed. And note that for yourself. I just used my breath to change my state of mind. Okay, so here's the energizing one now. So I'm going to back up a bit here so that you can see me on my exercise ball. Okay, so with this practice, we'll start with our hands palms up. And as you inhale, you draw your elbows back. And as you exhale, you do this. You send your hands forward. So inhaling, drawing back, and exhaling, ha. Ha. Join me. Ha. 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 And one more. Ha. And then close your eyes again. I hope you were watching what I was doing. Close your eyes again and notice, what did that do to your energy? What sensations are you feeling now? And what's the quality of your mind? And contrast that to how you felt after the first practice. So here again, you have used your breath to change your state of mind and maybe your energy. Yeah, I hope that you felt a little energized by that. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit I'll give you some background and information, and I want most of this seminar to be practice. And I think that after that, when you are sent the replay link, you will also be sent my email address and my website. And if you're interested in receiving handouts for some of the practices that we did tonight, then please get in touch with me. Okay, so why do I call breath a superpower? Why is breath a superpower? So in the yoga tradition, it is said that breath is the link between your body and your mind. So the breath is the only function, physiological function, that you can take conscious control over. We can't tell our digestion to speed up. We can't tell our nerves to go faster. We can't tell our blood to flow better, but we can use the breath to do all of those things. So if you know how to use your breath, then you can help yourself go to sleep. You can improve your digestion. You can lower your cholesterol, your inflammation, your heart rate. You can, if you take your blood pressure on a regular basis, you can immediately drop your blood pressure by doing breathing. What else? Anxiety and depression, pain control, diabetes, pretty well all of the conditions that cause us suffering can be helped with breath. So that's why it's a superpower. And in fact, some doctors say that 90% of what they see come into their office in terms of chronic things are actually due to poor breathing patterns. And how we are not taught how to breathe. And as a yoga teacher, I've been teaching yoga, as Darcy said, for over 40 years. Probably the most common piece of feedback that I get from people, from students, is thank you for teaching me how to breathe well. Because it can change your life. Yeah. So I'll just say something about that. In the yoga tradition, the yoga tradition sees us as multidimensional people with a physical body, with an energy body, with an emotional body, with an intellectual body, and with a spiritual body, all different layers that interpenetrate and affect and are affected by each other. So the breath is the link between all of these koshas, we call them in yoga. And the reason being, the yoga tradition tells us, is that breath carries prana. And prana is life force energy. So prana is what keeps us alive. So when we have prana, we're alive. And when our prana leaves, then we're dead. So prana is the animating force that gives us life, that gives us vitality, and that makes every single physiological process move. So it moves our thoughts, it moves our neural impulses, it moves our blood, it moves our food through the digestive tract, it moves our emotions. So prana is what we want to increase in order to be healthier. And we can do that through the breath. So when we work with the breath, we can affect the body, So as I mentioned, we can decrease our pain, we can decrease our heart rate, inflammation, our digestion works better, our sleep, all of those things. On an energetic level, we can increase our energy, or we can calm our energy. We can change our energy. And prana is always tied to the breath. Yeah, and well, movement too. We can increase our prana through movement, and we can also increase our prana through our thoughts. Yeah. So then we've got our emotional body, and our breath can help us to regulate our emotions. So you probably all heard the saying, when you feel angry, count to 10 before you say anything. And usually in that counting to 10, you're breathing. Yeah. So you're less likely to explode if you're counting your breath. Yeah. And there's been lots and lots of studies done with the breath. And one of them was done on breath and emotions. And what the researchers determined is that the primary emotions have a very particular breath pattern associated with them. And so what they did was they got the participants in the study to breathe in those ways, and then to tell the researchers what emotion they were feeling. And sure enough, and this is what the paper was about, when you breathe in a certain way, that in that way being the signature of a particular emotion, you will feel that emotion. So knowing that, we also can know how to regulate those emotions. And that's what we'll be working with. Okay, so breath and mind. So the breath work that we do can change the quality of your mind. So if you feel very heavy and sluggish in your mind, you can do a yogic breath that will, one of the breaths is called the skull shining breath, and you will immediately feel your mind more alert and crisper. Yeah. So breath can do that. And then our spiritual aspect, breath has been used for thousands and thousands of years to help people get into a meditative state, and to actually, some people, crazy people, I think, have done breath for hours and hours and hours at a time. And it can take them into extreme spiritual experience. And in fact, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told that in some hospitals in India, they have special wards for people who have gone a bit crazy doing breath practices. So I don't know if that's true. So the upshot of all of this is that for every single aspect of you as a human being, your breath can have an effect on that. And how does that happen? How does that work? Well, it's all because all of our physiological functions are under the control of the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system has a sympathetic part, and that's the part that gives us alertness. And you've heard of the fight or flight response. That's part of that system. So the sympathetic system is when we're in alertness and we're in readiness. We're ready for action. And the parasympathetic system is our rest, digest, and connect part. So when we're in our sympathetic nervous system, it's very difficult for us to learn. It's very difficult for us to connect to other people. and to actually tune into what's happening in ourselves. So connect to ourselves. When we're in our parasympathetic nervous system, and I'm simplifying this for the sake of time, when we're in our parasympathetic system, so when that is bumped up, and they kind of go like this, when parasympathetic is up, sympathetic goes down, and vice versa. But we always want a little bit of sympathetic so that the parasympathetic works well. And we always want a little parasympathetic when the sympathetic is going, so that we're in relaxed strength and we're in relaxed alertness. So the parasympathetic nervous system, that's how we can access all of our physiological functions through the breath. So like I say, it's the only physiological function we can take conscious control over. And so when we consciously slow our breath down, for example, or speed it up like we did in the beginning practice, then we will affect our physiology. Yeah. So when we're all stressed all the time, then our physiology does not work very well. So you may know this already. Your sleep is disturbed. Your digestion isn't great. You may be kind of sharp or emotionally volatile. Your inflammatory processes go up. Yeah, your healing doesn't happen unless you're in parasympathetic mode. So there's lots written on this, and lots of research on the stress response and how it's the underlying cause of all of our chronic illnesses, heart disease, cancer, asthma, diabetes. All of these things have as their underlying cause too much stress. So we're in our sympathetic nervous system way too much. Yeah. Okay. So how do we get to that place where our breath is not working so well? Because most of us, I would say probably 95% of us, are not really efficient breathers. We use about 25% of our breath capacity. So what that means, and I didn't mention this, that when our breathing is not efficient, our brain does not get enough oxygen. And so it does not work very well at all. We can feel dizzy, we can feel scattered, we can be, like I say, emotionally volatile. We can have difficulty concentrating, our memory may go, and we may not, and probably likely not, connect that to the way we're breathing. So that's what I'd like to do tonight, is just introduce you to some of the aspects that will help you to breathe more efficiently, and therefore keep you more in your parasympathetic system, so that all of your physiology works better, your mind works better, your sleep is better, all of that. Okay, so what I'd like to do is first talk a little bit and show you a little bit about the container of the breath, the bony container of breath. And then we'll look at the diaphragm, the main breathing muscle. And then we'll look at the lungs, because I teach experiential anatomy. And what that means is that when you know something, you have and you can picture your own structure, and you can actually feel it, have a felt sense of it, then how you breathe, how you move will change. So we'll do a little bit of that tonight. Okay, so what are we aiming for when I say good breathing or efficient breathing? So 3 things. We want to get the breath lower in the torso. So one of the signs that you're in your sympathetic nervous system is that your breath tends to be more in your upper chest. You might see these muscles working. Your shoulders might go up and down as you breathe, and your breath will probably be shallower and faster. And whenever the breath is faster, that will put you in your sympathetic nervous system, in the fight or flight part of it. Okay, so that's the first thing. We want to get it lower. When we get it lower into the belly and even down into the pelvic floor, then you are immediately taken more into that rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. So first thing is we want to get it low. Second thing is we want to get it calm. Yeah, actually, I'll talk about calm third. Let's take slow second. So most of us are breathing way too fast. Yeah, too many times per minute. And even what's interesting is that what is common as the number of breaths per minute has been going up and up and up over the decades. So our ancestors might have breathed 9 times a minute, but we now are breathing 15 to 20 times a minute, most of us. And the repercussion of that is that we are more and more and more in our sympathetic nervous system, like we didn't have enough to put us there anyways, right? Oh, COVID, oh, not seeing your loved ones, oh, you know, the traffic, the work, all the problems that you have in your life make you go into your sympathetic nervous system. Yeah, we want to get away from them, or we just want to like not deal with them, escape. So when we're there, when we're in that faster breath, we're in our sympathetic nervous system. And so the second aspect of more efficient breath is to slow it down. So now the very good research, and lots of it, has shown that the optimal number of breaths per minute, and this is as a practice, but as you practice it, your normal breath will start to decrease in number per minute. When you breathe 5 to 6 times per minute, then your brain waves and your breath and your heart all synchronize. Yeah. And when that happens, a measurement of your health called the heart variability rate increases. So let me just explain that. When you inhale, your heart rate actually increases. When you exhale, your heart rate decreases. So the distance between those two measurements is what is measured on an electrocardiogram, an ECG. And so what is known is that people who have a higher heart rate variability are healthier people. So people who are near death, people who are very, very sick will have low heart rate variability. So when you breathe 5 to 6 times per minute, your heart rate variability increases, and that takes us more into the parasympathetic mode, and all of your physiology, all of your mental functions, your emotional functions will all improve. So if that isn't a superpower, I don't know what is. And you can do it yourself. You don't have to pay someone to do it for you. You have this incredible superpower of the breath at your fingertips every moment that you are awake, and it will help you go to sleep. Okay, so let us go to the skeleton. I've got my skeleton here, and I just want to show you a little bit about your breath container. Okay. So most of us, I think, when we think about our breathing apparatus, we just think about our ribs. Yeah. And maybe we don't even think that much about our ribs. But what happens when we inhale is that our ribs flare. I think most of us know that. So inhaling, exhaling, exhaling. But they also hinge in the back. So if the right here is my spine, as I inhale, where each rib is attached to the spine, that joint hinges open. So we get this hinging in the back. So that opens up the whole back for breathing too. And most of us don't think of breathing into our back, but actually we have more breath capacity in our back than in other parts of the lungs. Yeah. Okay. So what also a lot of us don't think about is that the clavicles and the sternum are also involved in breathing. So as we inhale, the sternum rises up and it forces the clavicles open a little bit, so that as we inhale, the clavicles open, and as we exhale, they come back, open and come back. So let us feel our breath container. I'll just move Joe over here a bit. Okay, so if you could feel your ribs. So first I'll just show on Joe here because it's easier. Feel for the notch in the middle, and then feel for the edge of the rib and follow it back with your fingers. And can you follow those ribs all the way back to the spine? And if you put your fingers on either side of the spine, just on either side of your spine, as you inhale and exhale, can you feel the ribs moving back there? Take a few breaths. Can you get a sense of those ribs hinging on the vertebra? And then can you take your hands on either side of your ribs now? And can you feel the ribs opening and spreading? They're spreading apart from each other as you inhale and exhale. And then can you take your hand and put it on your sternum here? So just your fingertips, soft fingertips. And as you inhale, think of moving your sternum up And as you exhale, pull it down a little bit. So use the skin on top of the bone to pull it up a little bit as you inhale, and then pull it down as you exhale. It may be a little bit tender. And then letting that go, and then taking your fingers onto your clavicles. First, feel the notch in the middle here, and then the bump on either side. That's the one end of the clavicle. And then just using your soft finger pads, feel the topography of the clavicles. They've got a top, a front, a bottom, and a back, but going underneath or behind might be a little bit tender. So just using your fingers to palpate the clavicles and slowly move your fingers out towards your shoulders, and you'll feel another bump out there. And that's where the clavicles join the shoulder blade. Yeah. Okay. So what the clavicles do, the clavicles are spiralic bones. They're kind of S-shaped. And as you inhale, they spiral and move out. And as you exhale, they spiral back and move in. So putting your hands on your clavicles, just your fingers here, as you inhale, imagine them spiraling, and you might even be able to feel them moving out, so out to the sides a little bit. Can you feel a little movement as you inhale and a different movement as you exhale? Good. Okay, and one last bony movement. It's not part of the breath container, but is the scapulas also move with the breath. So as you inhale, the scapulas move away from the spine, and as you exhale, they return. So in your mind's eye, because you probably can't touch them, in your mind's eye, as you inhale, see those wing bones, the shoulder blades, moving away from the spine, and then relaxing back to their starting place as you exhale. Okay, good. So just feeling your ribs on either other parts of you, feeling your chest. You might be able to move your fingers back and forth over the bones. And why I'm asking you to do this, and on the sides, and then in the back, if you can reach that, why I'm asking you to do this is that when you tell your nervous system that, hey, there's a rib cage here, hey, there's clavicles here, then the brain gets all excited because that's new information, because it kind of forgot that you had those. But by you touching them and putting your mind on them, you're reminding the nervous system that they're there, and they will take that into consideration in your breath. So after doing that, if you could now close your eyes or lower your gaze and just notice, do I have a different sense of my breath container doing that little bit of palpation? And is my breath different? Okay, so that's the bones. And now we go to the diaphragm. So the diaphragm, I've got this ball in here. The diaphragm is like a mushroom-shaped muscle. It's a thin muscle. It's in the middle of your body, and it divides your torso into the upper part where the lungs and the heart are, and the lower part where all the other organs are. And it's attached to the lower 6 ribs on the inside, and it's also attached, these, I don't know if you can see these are supposed to be the attachments of the diaphragm to the spine. So the diaphragm attaches to the spine. And what many people don't realize is that when you inhale, the diaphragm goes down. And when you exhale, it domes up again. So when you inhale and the diaphragm moves down, it pushes all of your organs to the front and to the sides. And that's why the belly expands when you inhale, because the diaphragm is pushing down and creating pressure on all of your organs. And that is very important. So if we're not getting deep breathing, or if the diaphragm isn't descending as much as it could be, then the organs don't get massaged. And that it can contribute to organ dysfunction. The heart rides right on top of the diaphragm. It's attached to the diaphragm. And so when the diaphragm isn't moving properly, the heart doesn't get massaged, and that can contribute to cardiovascular disease. And there's been some studies done on this, showing that in a cardiac ward, 100% of the people in that ward who had suffered a heart attack were shallow upper chest breathers. That's amazing to me. And when you think about the mechanism of that as the diaphragm moves up and down, the heart is being massaged, the blood is moving better. And so the plaque doesn't have a chance to get deposited on the arteries of the heart and cause those blockages. So we really want to breathe well to have good heart health. And I talked about this in my heart health seminar 1 year with choices. So the diaphragm moves kind of like a jellyfish. And I really wanted to show you a video of jellyfish moving, but it somehow didn't work out tonight. So I'd like you to, if you'd like to, hold your hand like this, just like your fingers are the tentacles of the jellyfish. And as you inhale, imagine your diaphragm descending, and flatten and lower your hand like the jellyfish does. Yeah, it gets itself all big first, and then it propels itself. So as you exhale, dome your hand. So inhaling, diaphragm moves down. Exhaling, it domes up. Yeah. So the exhalation is just a relaxation of the diaphragm. It's the inhalation that's the contraction. These little attachments to the spine, they pull the diaphragm down, as does this. There's another tendon in there. So doing this a few times. Visualize a jellyfish as you breathe in the ocean. That beautiful flowing propulsion. So that's how the diaphragm moves. I've come across a number of people who would not believe me, that were convinced that the belly was supposed to go in as you inhale. And that is a breath dysfunction that will contribute to anyways physiological problems. Okay, so let us feel our diaphragm. I'm just telling you, you've got it, but I want you to actually feel it. So if you take your fingers and find the ribs in the front on one side, then curl forward a little bit and curl your fingers around the ribs, so you're more on the inside of the ribs. And then take a breath. And you'll feel something pushing on your fingers, and that's your diaphragm. Do that a few times. That's your diaphragm descending. And if you want to really feel it, you can make some consonant sounds like t, 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 or k, 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 and you'll feel it poke out at you. K, 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 k. And you could move your fingers to the sides and feel your diaphragm again if you want. And maybe do that on the other side too, so you get more of a sense of your diaphragm there too, just in one place. Okay, and letting that go. Just tuning in now that you've touched your diaphragm, you know where it is and you visualized it. Does that change your breath at all? Or are you more aware of your diaphragm now? More aware of how it works, descending on the inhalation. And then it goes all the way around to the back. It's attached to the spine. Yeah, so your diaphragm is like a big disc in the middle of you, a nice pliable, flexible disc, like a mushroom or a parachute. Okay, so the last piece of anatomy that we're going to look at today is what we normally think of when we think about breathing, which is the lungs. Yeah. But what many people don't realize is just how big the lungs are. So if you feel your clavicles in front and you put you touch the bone and then you go just above the bone, that's the top of your lungs. That's the apex of the lungs. Yeah. A lot of people think the lungs are just here, but they go from here, they go all the way down. So from here to here, they go from side to side, and they go all the way to the back. So they're huge. They're absolutely huge. And that's where all of the gas exchange takes place. So we breathe in oxygen, and that oxygen goes into all the little alveoli. They're like little clusters of grapes in the lungs. And surrounding those alveoli are the capillaries that have the carbon dioxide there's an exchange of oxygen for carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide comes out on your exhalation and the oxygen is spread through your whole body. So the more oxygen we have, the better everything works, because every single function, cellular function in your body requires oxygen. So we want there to be more oxygen. And it's not a matter of just breathing deeper, because that can actually imbalance the oxygen CO2 ratio in your blood. And when there's not enough carbon dioxide, then the oxygen isn't taken up by the cells. So we really want to pay attention to our blood chemistry, to our breath chemistry, and extending our exhalations and breathing calmly, slowly, and lower will increase our oxygen levels. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to do there. So let us just play for a moment or two with the different parts of the lungs, because most of us don't think about how big our lungs are, or that we can actually direct our breath into different parts of the lungs. So let's take our hands, if you can reach. If it's uncomfortable to do this, then just place the back of your hands on your back. And again, closing your eyes if that feels okay. Otherwise, just lowering your gaze so that you can tune in. So imagine the lower part of your lungs, the lower back part of your lungs. And in your mind, as you inhale, direct your breath there, knowing how big they are. Can you feel your breath going lower in your lungs? Our mind is very powerful. Okay, then can you now take your hands, cross them in front, and put your hands in your armpits? And then put your mind inside your lungs. And as you inhale, direct your breath sideways into the lungs just underneath your hands. Imagine them expanding sideways. Your lungs expand just like balloons do when you blow them up. And they expand in all directions. Okay, and then one last place. If you can take your hands, actually, let's just do one side at a time. Take one hand and put it on top of your shoulder, between your shoulder and your neck. And in your mind's eye, imagine your lung expanding underneath your hand, sending your breath there. I just had a nice involuntary deep breath there. Okay, and then change sides. Imagine your lungs expanding, your left lung expanding, directing your breath to the top of the lung, expanding that. And then taking your hand away, taking just a moment now to tune in and notice, now that you've said hello to your breath container, to your diaphragm, and to your lungs, what's your breath doing now? What's the quality of your mind now? Your energy level? Has that changed at all? Okay, so what I'd like to do now is lead you through a short practice to open up this breath container a little bit, most specifically the ribs, although of course we'll be working with all of it. And what happens as we are stressed, we tend to breathe faster and more shallowly. And so the muscles that overlie the breath container don't get exercise, they don't get stretched. The breath is supposed to be doing that. But if we're not breathing very much and shallowly and fast, then those muscles don't get stretched. So what we want to do is move our body so that those muscles start to wake up a bit and they get softer and more elastic and more pliable, so that then they can allow the ribs to move. Because when they don't move, it's like they shrink wrap your torso, and then you can't breathe. You can't breathe more because you're shrink wrapped. So we want to open up the ribs a little bit so that you can have the capacity to breathe in that lower, slower, calmer, and have more depth sort of way. Okay, so if you could take hold of your left hand out in front of you. I think I'll turn sideways to do this so you can see. And what I'd like you to play with is, as you inhale, pull your arm forward, round your back, and send your breath into those back lungs. Then as you exhale, just let your hands, your arms come down. So we'll do this a few times in your own breath rhythm. Inhaling, rounding your back, pulling your wrist, and exhale and soften. So doing this a few times, you might feel some of those muscles on the ribs getting a little workout. And after this breath, let that go. Take hold of the other hand, other wrist, and do a few there now. Inhaling into the back, rounding your back, tucking your chin, pulling your wrist, and then softening as you exhale. The spine, of course, is involved in this too. You're loosening up some of those spinal muscles. And last time. And taking a moment to feel what that did, if anything, maybe nothing, that's okay. And then taking one of your hands onto your side ribs, fairly low, feel the bottom of the rib, and that's about where you want your hand to be on the bone. The other hand can be resting alongside you or holding onto the chair, doesn't matter. So now what I'd invite you to play with is, as you inhale, tipping over to the other side and sending your breath into the ribs that are now flared and open. So side of the lungs. And then as you exhale, come on up. So doing that a few times in your own breath rhythm. And last time. Take a moment and compare the two sides. Is there any difference in your experience of your ribs now? Any change in the breath on that side? And then other side, so taking your hand there. As you inhale, side bending, breathing into those ribs, into the bottom lungs on that side. And exhaling and returning to uprightness. And last time. And taking a moment to notice. In experiential anatomy practice, we always take that moment so that the nervous system can register what's happened. If we quickly move on to something else, then that sensation might get lost. And then it won't get integrated into the way the brain breathes. Okay, I can feel my breath more open now, a little bit deeper. Okay, so I'll go sideways again here. If you could move to the front of your chair, if you're sitting in a chair, and clasp your hands, if you could, behind your back, And if you can't clasp your hands behind your back, then you might take hold of something, a belt or a cloth or something, so that it's easier for you. And now, as you inhale, take the hands off the back and breathing into the front of the lungs, right from the bottom of the ribs to the top of the ribs. And then as you exhale, returning the hands back to neutral. So inhaling, hands off, breathing into the whole front of the ribs and the lungs, exhaling and softening. You can think about the diaphragm descending. And then after this one, let that go. And guess what? Take a moment, notice. And then the last movement will be a twisting movement. So we'll be involving ribs, spine, sternum, all different parts. So if you could take your fingertips and touch your neck. If that's not comfortable, then you can place your palm on your sternum. There's always a choice. You can always do yoga. That's what yoga therapy says. Everyone can do yoga because we can always find a way to make it work for you. Okay, so this time as you inhale, taking the elbow behind you and breathing into all of this area that's open from the back sides to the front. And then as you exhale, turn and take your elbow across toward the opposite knee. So inhaling and opening and exhaling and rounding. Last time. And letting that go. Noticing how that side is. Is it different from this side? Are there differences? What's your breath like? Has it changed? And then other hand up in either of those positions, inhaling and opening, breathing fully into your lungs, and exhaling and rounding, taking your elbow toward the opposite knee. And last time. So again, closing your eyes if you want, or turning your gaze down, tuning into your breath as it is now. Thinking back to what it was at the beginning of the class, when you first tuned into your breath. How is it different now? What's changed? Is it slower? Is it lower? Is there more capacity? Is it calmer? Okay. So now that we've opened up the capacity of the container, the contents, the lungs, we've worked with the diaphragm a little bit. Let's take this into a couple of breaths, of healing breaths. So the first one is the coherent breath. And this is the breath that there's been so much research done by Doctors Brown and Gelbar that discovered that the rhythm of the heart, of the breath and the brain all synchronize when you breathe 5 to 6 times per minute. So what that means is that 5 breaths is a count of 12, 5 times. 6 breaths is a count of 10, 6 times, something like that. I'm not very good at math. So what we're going to play with now, though, is start where we are. So for many people, that might be a count of 3. And then we'll expand it a little bit. So find your seat, your comfortable seat. Once again, if you'd like, you can close your eyes. And I have my minute hand in front of me, and so I will count the seconds, and we'll start with a 3 count. 3 count inhalation and 3 count exhalation. So we'll start by just taking an exhalation and emptying your lungs, doing that, exhaling, and go. 1, 2, 3, exhale, 1, 2, 3. Inhale, 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 1, 2, 3. 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 Exhale. Okay, so if that felt like your limit, then stay with that. And over time, you will gradually increase the length of inhalation or exhalation. And I should say here, I didn't say this before, but your exhalation is the key to your calmness. Like I said, the heart rate decreases as you exhale. So what that means is when we extend our exhalations, we're taking ourselves into the parasympathetic rest and digest and connect part of our nervous system. So for now, we're doing equal counts, inhalation and exhalation, but you can play around with that so that if you're doing a 3 count, you might do 2 inhalation and 4 exhalation. So just to know that. Okay, so let's go now to a 4 count if you feel like that's doable for you. If you feel at any time like you're straining or you're gasping for breath, or you feel like you can't get a breath, then that means you have to back off what you're doing and start back a little. Yeah. So let's start with a 4 count. Taking an exhalation and go. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, keep going with that. If that felt like your capacity, I'll bump it up to 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going with that count if that feels like your limit. I'll take it up now to 5 count inhalation, 6 count exhalation. And nice long exhalation and inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, letting that go. And tuning in once more. How is my breath now? How is my quality of mind? What's my energy level like? What do I feel like in my body? Tuning in. So this is a breath that is super easy to do whenever you're not using your brain. So when you're walking from one part of your house to the other, you're walking down the hall at work, you're on the toilet, you're having a shower, you're preparing your meal, you're driving your car. It's so easy to do, and it can change your physiology. It can change your mind. Yeah. If you need to calm yourself down before a meeting, you can use the extended exhalation count, but getting the 5 to 6 breaths per minute will synchronize all of your rhythms, and you will be more present and available for that meeting and able to respond from the wholeness of your being rather than from your scared little self being. Yeah. So extremely useful breath, and lots of research on it. I think the book that Gelbar and Brown wrote is called The Healing Power of Your Breath. But they've got a website with lots of resources on it, Brown and Gelbar. Okay, I would like to finish now with the Brahmari breath. Brahmari breath, that means humming bee breath. And in this breath, you sound like a bee because you're going to hum on your exhalation. And there's also been research done on this breath, and it is used in depression and anxiety and insomnia to great success. In fact, I spoke with the director of a yoga therapy program at the oldest, over 100-year-old yoga university in India. And he said that they give this breath as a practice to people with those conditions, but they give it 3 times a day for 20 minutes. Yeah, we're only going to do maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So you can imagine, and the other thing that it does, it really regulates your emotions. Yeah, and it gives you a break from the world, because all you can hear is that sound in your head, and creating the vibration can be very powerful. Vibration is a very powerful healing energy. Yeah, so it's very simple. All it is you are going to, don't do it yet though, plug your ears. And you can do that with your thumbs, or you can do that with your fingers, or you can just fold the flap of skin in front of your ears into your ears if you don't want to stick your fingers in your ears. So you start like that, your arms are relaxed. And all you do is take an inhalation in through your nose. And I don't think I've mentioned that before, that breathing in and out through your nose is the healthiest way to breathe. When you inhale through your mouth, it again throws off your physiology. It doesn't go through all the stuff that happens in your nose. You don't get nitric oxide produced in your nose, which is a chemical or a gas that makes everything work in all of your cells. So the other aspect of efficient breath is through your nose. Yeah. Okay, so humming bee breath. All you're going to do is plug your ears, and as you exhale, a nice long exhalation, you'll just hum like this. As long as you can. Okay, let's do that. We'll do it for 4 minutes. And you don't have to follow me. I'll do it, but you just do your own thing. Okay. If your arms get tired, just lower your elbows or unplug your ears. And last 2 exhalations. And when you finished, again, sitting quietly and noticing the effects of the humming bee breath. And then if you want, you can open your eyes. Notice the room around you, orient yourself. You've been in another world with that breath. So what this breath can do, as you probably noticed, your exhalation gets much longer. So it can be a way of training your longer exhalations so that your natural breath becomes longer in that exhalation. I do the humming bee breath as a practice. I've done it for probably over 2 years now, and my exhalation is definitely longer naturally now. And you might have got a sense that it's also a really good way to shift your mood. So if you're scared, if you're upset about something, if you're whatever emotion you're feeling that's strong and you would like to, after you acknowledge it, of course, you would like to moderate it, then the humming bee breath is a really great way to do that. So I'm hoping after all of this that you have noticed some difference and that you have noticed how breath can be your superpower. My email address is ls@leilastewart.com, LEILASTUART.com. And if you would like handouts, written handouts for some of these practices, please get in touch with me, or you can go to my website, which is leilastewart.com, and sign up for my newsletter. And you'll also get 2 chapters of my book. And you can send me a message that you'd like to receive the practices. So thank you so much for your attendance, and happy breathing.
Oh, thank you so much, Leela. I'm so relaxed, so much more so than I was when we began this evening, and I'm feeling so much ready for bed. So
yeah, good.
Some great takeaways here. It's also incredibly empowering to realize that just with learning breath, how much we can impact our physiology. And it's free, and it's simple. It may not be easy, but with practice, I can see us getting there. A question about having our bellies expand rather than breathing shallowly in our lungs. I wonder if some of us have been, I know I'm probably part of this crowd where I tend to try and keep my stomach tucked
Stomach
in.
in.
And
Yeah.
that's not compatible, is it, with proper breathing?
No, but a breath that I didn't do today is the rib breath. I've done it in other classes. And in that breath, your belly muscles are engaged a little bit, and you send your
Okay.
breath sideways and into your back. So
Interesting.
you still can engage your abdominal muscles and get full breath if you direct your breath to the back and to the and to expanding the ribs. But I have to say that thing that women have about not wanting their belly to be rounded is a huge culprit in poor breathing patterns and in all of those physiological dysfunctions that arise from poor breathing patterns. So we are meant, our belly is meant to expand as we inhale. It is. It really
Absolutely.
is. Yeah.
And then if we were to, practice this daily and just be aware of it and be mindful, it's almost, it sounds almost incredulous that I could become a belly expanding breather as my normal way of breathing, but it's encouraging.
But the thing is, when you practice breathing, some of the practices are pulling your belly muscles in as you exhale, and that builds those muscles. So you can actually increase your core doing belly breathing or doing breathing practices. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, and the diaphragm is part of your core. So when you increase the elasticity and the efficiency of the diaphragm, then you've got a stronger core.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, as always, Leela, thank you so much. You always share such wonderful nuggets with us. I know I'll be referring to this session again and again. It's just a gift. So again, thank you so much.
All right.
And thank you everyone for joining us. And please enjoy this perhaps newfound superpower of your breathing. Everyone have a great night. And we hope to see you soon on another Choices seminar. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Darcy.